I wasn't sure I was gonna get to make a video about this. Hi, I'm Ophi YouTube Videos, and though the horse has been beaten a bit at this point, I would like to talk about James Somerton, please. Sorry. I am a feminist and a lesbian and a commentary video essayist, and I was in the process of realizing that I wanted to be the third one when this particular video dropped. So, to refresh your memory, if you may have maybe forgotten who James Somerton is, this brings us back to December the 2nd of 2023. A YouTuber named HBomberGuy uploaded a 3-hour and 51-minute video called Plagiarism and YouTube. Plagiarism and YouTube is, I won't even mince words. I think it's a masterpiece of a video. HBomberGuy is known for really long and really good videos, which used to be a bit more frequent and now come at a rate of about one a year. And they're worth that wait because they're really good videos. They are engaging, they're really easy to watch no matter what the length is, no matter what the subject is. They're very well researched. I love HBomberGuy's videos. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Not just Plagiarism and YouTube, which this video kind of assumes that you may have watched or at least been aware of the discourse around, and you should watch. You should come back and watch this one later and go watch Plagiarism and YouTube if you have the time. Even if it takes you a couple sittings, it is worth it. It is a magnificent video. Before the plagiarism video, HBomb's most recent one was about a year prior to that, and it was a near 2-hour long video that was purportedly about the history of the Roblox oof sound, but actually ended up being an increasingly escalating reveal of a career-long grift by a man named Tommy Tallarico, who wasn't even on Cribs. So yeah, I can't recommend HBomb's videos highly enough, and I will be summarizing parts of the plagiarism one just for the sake of getting to talk about what I would like to talk about. Like I said, I was just gearing up from wanting to make videos being something passive about me like it always has been, into thinking it actually was something that I could do in December of 2023 when this video was dropped. And I was waist deep in preparation at the time for a video that still hasn't come out yet, but hopefully will be very, very soon. I was taking, and do still take, that video very seriously, and it was one that, because it didn't have a lot of primary sources we didn't need to find ourselves, required a lot of independent thought and writing, to the extent where I really was beginning to feel like I understood what went into a video essay and was assuming everybody else was taking months to work on theirs. And obviously, if you have noticed from my upload schedule, it no longer takes me months to assemble most of my video essays. There is a certain element of speed that has come around for me as I have gotten a little bit more efficient here, but I remain baffled by that concept of putting a video together that way. I still don't think that it is the same way that I engage with making my videos, and it really kind of changed the way that I was looking at a lot of channels that I had kind of passively watched and not really enjoyed, but not really thought about why I wasn't enjoying them. Because I never personally watched a James Somerton video, and I never will, but I did watch some Illuminati videos because Blair Illuminati casts a very wide net in terms of content that she posts about, and I have a very long-standing special interest in multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes, which is one of the niches that she has niched down into. In discourse, plagiarism and YouTube is kind of distilled down into being the James Somerton video. I believe even at one point in the video, HBomb says this video is about James Somerton, but much of the length isn't actually devoted to James Somerton. It kind of sets up the stakes of other content farm type channels like Blair Illuminati, who I had previously watched, and kind of how some YouTube channels will just tell other YouTube channels' videos to their audience and forget to cite things properly, because when everybody was making videos about Illuminati, even though they themselves may have been a step above the Illuminati style content farm, they were also just using things from other people and not tracing it to the beginning to actually source it correctly. Similarly to how I made the point when I was talking about the videos about Amanda Bynes that I don't like and how I'm not innocent because I watch them, I have watched lots of videos in lots of different, tiers of the hierarchy that is sort of implied in Plagiarism and YouTube. And I've enjoyed a lot of them to a lot of different levels. And also, about my video about the recent HBO Quiet on Set docuseries feeling like an extension of irresponsible true crime. In that one, I said pretty dismissively that I don't think you can make a documentary while you are speculating about somebody's life from your bedroom. I was making the point that I still rank those sorts of videos as YouTube videos and not as documentaries, and I do still stand by that opinion when it comes to videos that are like the rise and fall of insert celebrity name here, and then it is just existing blind items and Twitter beef and not something that the person actually was part of. That's a YouTube video and not a documentary. But I do want to make clear how much I respect the video essay as a form of writing, and in many cases also of filmmaking and video essay skills, and sometimes, yes, documentary. You may have already noticed this. I am a huge YouTube video essay watcher, enjoyer. So many nights, rather than watching something on a streaming service, I don't have TV. I will be on YouTube with my best friend and we will watch somebody tell us about something for free. I love educational content. I love easy, lighthearted video essays about pop culture and TikTok events. I love media recaps about things that I have and haven't seen. And I would qualify many video essays that I've seen on YouTube as documentaries, like Defunctland. That's an example that I gave in my comment section and that I was actively thinking about while I was talking about that, but that I just didn't think to mention. In a heartbeat would I call the Defunctland Disney Channel theme song video a documentary. But I think that has to do in part with, one, it not being about an individual person, as was posited in my comment section in some of the lovely discussions I got to have about this there. But also, two, he brought in sources. He talked to people who were affiliated with marketing in Disney, and his own search for the theme was part of the narrative of the documentary. I love that video. If you have not watched the Disney Channel theme video, please do yourself a favor and watch it. It is amazing. It's definitely a documentary. As well as his recent video with the symphony. That one I would not even call a YouTube video. I would call it a short film that is on YouTube. And there is a lot of content that very much falls into that. I just don't personally find that drama content does, if that makes sense. Again, I may still be kind of hierarchical here for no real reason. Because I don't know exactly where I draw those lines other than that it's on a case-by-case basis. But, there are some people who are not making documentaries who are saying that they're making documentaries. And I was bringing that up in my case for my purposes for, my future video where we're going to go to Petty University. It also comes up here, though, because that's the kind of language that Blair Illuminati and James Somerton, both primary subjects of the Plagiarism and YouTube video, use about their videos, at least to my knowledge. I know Blair says docs. Again, I have not watched a James Somerton video in my life and will not, but I do know that he refers to himself as like a filmmaker. So again, while I tend to make videos pretty quickly once I have the energy to record, I got excited about this, wrote it, and am now recording it. I get excited and then usually plug myself in on editing until it's finished, but the videos themselves are typically about things that I have already ideated on for a really long time, and I'm not personally all that great at reading from a script and staying directly word for word on what was planned out, which I think is part of why I was so fascinated then to learn how many parts of these videos seem to be just lifted word for word from another place and then said as such in the videos being made by, James Somerton. A huge portion of the H-Bomb video is dedicated to showing time after time after time where James Somerton just said someone else's words as if they were his own, or showing the way that Blair Illuminati, recycled two different Firefest documentaries, restated them in her own words, put a bifilter over them, and used them to reassemble her own video. And even in that case, I think if you are reviewing something but you're actually just recapping it, or if you are talking about something but you're actually just reading an article or reading from Wikipedia, people might still want that, and that is fine. If your videos are properly cited, that clearly does still have some value to some viewers who like them. If you're telling your audience you're going to read Wikipedia to them, I hold no ill will towards you for reading Wikipedia to your audience, and I hold no ill will towards your audience for listening to you reading Wikipedia to them. I would rather chew on a brick, but I hold no ill will. This all just feels worth kind of giving you some reference for where my head already was at as I was watching the video, and also saying that, yes, I absolutely agree that there are definitely some documentaries on YouTube. I specifically was talking about drama ones, but I also do get that people may still think the drama ones are documentaries, and that's a valid opinion if you have it. The H-Bomb video, Plagiarism and YouTube, is, as I said, really remarkable, and he shares credit for that remarkable video with his editor, Kat, who, in the aftermath of the video's release, has had to be in a very unfortunate position of providing vague and respectful wellness updates about James Somerton and repeating a request made clear in the initial video to leave James Somerton alone. Now, I don't want to analyze the entire video itself much, so I'm kind of moving on to the after the video portion of all of this. But about the video itself, other than the fact that, I agree with H-Bomb and that I think of my videos as something that I write, so I wouldn't plagiarize in an article or a story or a book that I was writing. So other than when I'm directly citing somebody or their argument, I wouldn't want to say somebody else's words to my phone and then collect a check for that based on my audience thinking those words came out of my brain. But again, the video itself makes it absolutely clear that Harry and Kat don't want anyone contacting or harassing James Somerton, and I don't feel like this video in any way constituted sending a hate mob after somebody. And I do think that videos that are meant to send your audience as a hate mob against somebody exist. A recent commentary YouTube video I enjoyed was Noah Samson's video, Think Before You Dox, which was an examination of the responsibility that a certain right-wing YouTuber had for firing his audience up about a fat-positive YouTuber named Illymation, first for just existing and having a really cute fat-positive video, and then for saying on her Tumblr that, she would appreciate it if anybody who saw the video would just report it since it was causing her to be dogpiled with really hateful comments. And I kind of do think that that's a relevant piece to the conversation if you want that much nuance, and I will link it in the description below. That is not what the plagiarism video was, what it was meant to achieve, or what it did achieve, but there are videos that attempt to do things like that. You can let me know if this also makes you think of that and vice versa or not. Again, I just really liked that video and kind of wanted to mention it. I also will say that, because of the scale of Harry H-Bomb's YouTube audience, because of how influential his content always is on the greater YouTube video essay environment itself, even when it isn't, kind of a meta examination of phenomena within YouTube commentary, how often the oof video gets talked about. James Somerton and his plagiarism did become a meme, and that does seem like something that would really absolutely fucking suck to live through. But also, the meme that he became was about his own actions. Not a meme that nobody ever took too far or used an excuse to be cruel, but, the actually funny ones, at least, were just a meme about his videos, or him stealing words from other creators, or how misogynistic the way he talked about women was. I debated calling this a nuance corner video, but I don't feel like giving much nuance to James here for reasons that will be made pretty clear by the end of this video. But I will still say, though, that I've never thought that he should be doxxed, actively harassed, and I've never hoped for anything bad to happen to him by his own hand or otherwise. I mention the by his own hand part because, as you're likely already familiar with if you watched this in real time, in his first apology video, James Somerton talked quite a bit, and in my opinion quite manipulatively, about his suicidal ideation and attempt in response to the shame he felt when he was faced with the online mob about his own actions. He would later delete that apology video and upload another. A YouTuber I'll plug here who I really like, named Jessie Gender, talked about how manipulative it was, the first apology video. Jessie Gender is really empathetic, and as my observation, as somebody who's never directly interacted with her, she seems very, very kind, and she's a YouTuber who was framed by James Somerton as like a mean gatekeeper over an interaction the two of them had that I'm not really getting into here regarding James having felt left out of Nebula, a streaming platform that many of the actual documentarian YouTubers upload to, as well as YouTube. You can and should watch Jessie's videos about this for further context on that, since I don't really want to break it down like I said. But you can find it linked below, and if you're looking for somebody new to watch, you've likely already heard of Jessie Gender if you're watching me, but still, I really enjoy Jessie Gender's content. She broke down the manipulative first apology and has kind of recused herself from further commentating on the James Somerton thing, which I think is absolutely reasonable. But again, she was brought into it because she was somebody who James kind of framed against him to his audience. Something he also did with Sarah Z and Lady Emily. We're going to talk about Lady Emily's Twitter thread soon because that's why I'm even talking about this. So the next suicide threat, I am not going to be delving into details about this, but I will say after the initial mentions of attempt and hospitalization in the first apology, James did make another threat after his second attempt at an apology was uploaded to YouTube and not well received. This was a post that was made on his locked Twitter account, and the phrasing of it was as if it was a scheduled tweet, which it may well have been, and as if by the time anybody was reading it, it would have been too late. That his videos were scheduled to be re-uploaded onto his channel in the coming days as a means to give his former co-writer a portfolio of his work and to donate the AdSense to charity. This tweet would later be deleted, but not until after screenshots had circulated, and multiple people who were following the locked account were able to confirm that they had seen it too, and that it wasn't just like a weird internet fabrication. Kat, not for the first time in the horrible position of needing to like provide a curious audience with information about a wellness check in order to try to stop them from actively harassing James, posted on Twitter that there was reason to believe that James was safe, and I put a lot of stock into what Kat and Harry choose to share, so I believed this already at the time, and I also saw as well that Nick, James's former co-writer, seemed to have confirmed that there was no need for concern. Again, we do not know 100% that this means that there was never an attempt or a plan. It just doesn't seem to have been specifically a concern in that time. And my opinion has always been and will always be that if something had happened, it would have been tragic, and also it would not have been the fault of Harry and Kat. And it would not have been the fault of Todd in the Shadows, who released a video fact-checking James Somerton's many plagiarized video essays. It wouldn't have been the fault of people who participated in laughing or sharing memes about him that weren't actively cruel. And that opinion, I think, is broadly but not unanimously held. And I also want to say I'm not giving any oxygen here to people who truly did wish ill on James. I think they're bad. I don't think that that's an appropriate reaction to having been lied to online, but I don't really feel like there's as much need to discuss that here, and I also won't be allowing it in my comment section either. But there is another opinion that I don't agree with. one that's been perpetuated by a handful of YouTubers who I think seized on the opportunity to have something to hold against HBomb. And, because maybe they felt confronted by what they thought was an unfair hierarchy of YouTube videos, but what Harry was criticizing was things not actually being created by the person calling themselves a content creator. So a lot of this, like I said, comes from, I think, feeling affronted. Hearing somebody say some of this is slop and feeling offended, I think, though, might just mean that what you're making is slop, no? If you don't make slop, if you don't feel like your videos are slop, then when somebody points to your corner of the internet and says some of that is slop, you don't feel like it's slop. I don't think slop sounds like a word anymore. But these people felt so affronted, so they went on this months-long campaign to try to blame Harry and Kat for this, to say that holding somebody accountable for what they do with their audience and their platform is the same thing as trying to take their life or try to convince them to take their own. And it's bullshit. It is so clearly bullshit. So on one hand, I don't think every other YouTuber on the planet necessarily needed to continue making videos about James Somerton following that HBomb video and the Todd in the Shadows chaser, or Jessie Gender, who again was personally impacted. And again, much like the Nick true crime YouTube video, I am part of the problem here. This time around, I'm actually making a video about it too, and, I was not personally impacted, but as I often do here, I'm looking at the commentary around it more than the phenomena itself. At the struggle that I see in finding the line between being able and willing to criticize and, at least to some extent dunk on a public figure who had been presenting themselves as one thing while being another, and also not wanting to join into a hate brigade against somebody who seems to have been struggling with mental illness and the loss of a loved one. When I ran my whole is it a hypocrite move to make a video about how maybe not everybody needed to make a video about James Somerton pitch by my best friend, they were saying that, what James Somerton really deserves, other than, the basic human empathy of not getting death threats, is to be forgotten about by everybody on YouTube. And generally, I really agree with that. That's why when these thoughts about all of this were in my head a few months ago, I was thinking that I was not going to be commenting on it. It appeared that that was going to be what was going to happen, that, YouTube was going to forget about James Somerton. But as another YouTuber, Lady Emily, whose Twitter thread I will link in the description below, pointed out, that most recent suicide threat from James seems to have been posted on the same day that he rebranded his alt Twitter account and horny posted. I will put screenshots of the thread here and you can pause to read. Again, these are from Lady Emily, who is fantastic, and I'll link her channel below as well. I think she was more than fine to share this, not only because, as she said in her thread, people have figured it out, but again, she and Sarah were unfairly targeted by James's audience when he decided to paint them as villain of the week. I don't think that the way that this information was pulled back out was done in a way that was harassing or threatening, and none of the posts that I personally have seen about James since then have been. And I do think that people are allowed to have some feeling of being betrayed by James. Especially people who supported him on Patreon or his filmmaking endeavors or anything else that has been discussed again and again in and outside of the HBomb video. But even people who didn't watch James but kind of feel like they feel the aftershocks of what he was doing in other channels, I think also kind of feel a level of frustration. And then also other content creators, people like me who make their videos and stay up until 2 a.m. to write them and then 4 a.m. to film them because they can't turn off the part of their brain that wants to talk about something. That's not a part of my brain that wants to copy and paste a bunch of things from articles into a document until I forget what I wrote and what came from other people. As far as I can tell, once the Twitter account and the TikTok account James Somerton had been posting on were discovered, they were both immediately privated or deleted, and I don't necessarily think that having been canceled as an online influencer should, preclude you from ever participating in social media at all again, but he hasn't shown any evidence that he's changed, and also when you're fabricating an entire alt with a different name despite using your face or an emoji avatar that looks exactly like it, you should expect that you'll get caught. Personally, I think the best thing James Somerton could do would be to find a job that is extremely offline. If he really loves making videos so much, he can just make them for himself and not post them. And really, a lot of this comes down to the fact that nobody is entitled to an audience, especially if you mislead or mistreat that audience that you did at one point earn. You aren't entitled to their trust or their affection back, or to another similar job once you lose the one that you had. And that's unfortunate but true. However, also, the internet is big, and I don't think this is the last time that we're going to see or hear from James Somerton. But it is the only time that I want to devote a video to him on my channel. I just want to clarify that, nothing life-ending did happen to him as a result of this video, and that even if it did, it would have been as a result of decisions that he made following the video, and not because of the video itself existing or him having watched it. Much the same way that it was the responsibility of Drake Bell to understand that he would have been triggered and not have a triggered reaction in my comment section on my video. I think it is the responsibility of James Somerton to keep himself safe, and he seems to be doing that, and I genuinely am glad that that's the case. I'm glad that James Somerton is alive. I have never at any point wanted another outcome from this, and I think very few people actually have. Again, people who did are bad. That's an overreaction. Don't get that invested in this kind of thing. But I did want to clarify that because, it wouldn't have been because the video that was made about him happened not to be nice, because there is a huge difference between nice and respectful, and the video wasn't disrespectful, it just wasn't nice. And while one side of YouTube seems to have taken the plagiarism video as an attack on them and a reason to attack HBomb and Cat, another side of YouTube, the one that I like more, took it as what I saw described on Twitter as a moment to tighten their shoelaces, to be more careful about sources and credit and research, and I'm really grateful for that and for the conversation that opens up, all of which is so much more interesting than this Canadian twink who's going to keep making alts and trying to get famous for repeating other people's takes a little incorrectly. I would so much rather have that conversation and conversations around drama content mills and low-effort video essays than just continue to talk about this man ad nauseum forever. In this case, though, I would love to know what you think. If you already knew that James Somerton was back, if you saw the same stuff on Twitter that I did, or if you didn't and you're glad to have a Twitter correspondent, what you think of the HBomb video, if you still think I'm wrong and being too strict about the word documentary, I'm open. I love making videos for you all, and I promise to keep being careful with them when I do. If you liked this video, please consider liking this video. If you're interested in more from me, you can also find my series about Eat Predators, which you may like. It's a series I very much tried to take some HBomb responsibility notes on about an activist movement that was founded by a former child actor. You can also support me on Patreon for extra videos every month and general updates if you're interested. And I have a Ko-fi for one-time donations if you're interested in sending me a one-off thing. That genuinely makes such a huge difference. I really want to thank everybody who has supported me at all through the Patreon, through Ko-fi, by watching my videos all the way through to the end. I love hanging out with you all. There are officially over 1,000 of us, another reason that I decided to make a video instead of sleeping tonight. I'm too excited, and that's so exciting. I can't even tell you. Thank you so much for letting me keep you company for a bit. I love sharing this little nuance corner with you all. Bye.